So today we're taking a look at the Bachmann scale. Amtrak Acela II, also known as the Avelia Liberty, is the fastest train in the US running on the Northeast Corridor, and I got the chance to rail fan it at Princeton Junction, New Jersey. It's a fairly new train set replacing the older Acela Express, which I also made an unboxing video of. But yeah, for this train set, it comes with 5 cars. We've got both end cars. One's a power car with a motor, the other is a dummy unit. Then we have the first class car, the cafe car, and business class. And yeah, let's get started here on the lead car. Alright, so here is the beginning of the train. It comes in the new NextGen Acela livery, which looks pretty cool and modern. I really dig this paint scheme because I remember when it first came out, in the promo pictures they had dark blue and black. I was not a fan of that. I am so glad they didn't go with that one because this one looks 1,000 times better. Got that Amtrak blue on top, white on the side, gray in the front, then a dark gray, then red, and a blue gradient in the back. And I also want to note that this car is pretty hefty. It's a lot heavier than it looks for its size, which is good for pulling trains. Anyways, let's get started here in the front, where on top we have the headlights, which is covered by a window, though unfortunately inside there's a bit of fiber stuck in there. It's also interesting that there's like this little edge here, so it's kind of asymmetrical. Then there's some rivets around this cover. Then further down we have the driver's cab with a separately applied windshield wiper in the front, which does stick out, and I did find it interesting that it's actually like 2 pieces with this hole in the middle, so it looks a lot more realistic than if they just did 1 big piece. Unlike the old Bachmann Acela, which had this heavily tinted windshield, you can see the inside quite clearly. We've also got some molded in detail for the controls. I can see a bit through the side windows. This one's clear as well. Also on the top corner there is this little indent here as well that is only on one side, just like that detail in the headlights. The next up we have this window with the car number 2108 and these black triangle divots on the sides and the Amtrak travel mark logo in the center. Then we have the bottom 2 dish lights, which have this black eyeliner. That looks pretty cool. I didn't realize this, but up close it's actually not a perfect oval. The edges have this sort of indent inside. And then on the tip of the nose, we have these lines molded in. In real life, that would house the coupler. In the previous Acela, you can actually open this, but I'm not sure if they did it on this model as well. There also is a little bit of a snowplow down here, just painted in gray, pretty thin. Alright, so now let's go check out the side. So from the side, you can see this swooshing with this light gray, which does make a little ledge here in the middle. There's also some panels molded in, and the gray parts curving upwards. And then at the bottom, we have the truck, which can move around a bit. There's some wires and other details molded in, even a standing line in the front. Alright, then over here we have the Alstom logo, which is the manufacturer. Although they're French, they do have a factory in upstate New York in Hornell, so it's over 95% US built. Then over here there's this random bump, I'm not sure what that's about. Then here's a sign with the car number. Then we have the door to access the cab, which has these silver door handles. And at the bottom there are some steps to get up, and these side grab irons are actually separately applied metal pieces. And there's also a rain gutter above the door. I also realized later on that they have a tiny F for front. Then at the top we have a row of vents, which are just molded in, but you can see they're all kind of different, and there's some rivet detail. Then in the middle we have the Acela logo, which is just solid blue compared to the old one, which had a gradient. And then at the bottom we have some red compartments down here, some vents, and some more rivet detail. Then in the back we have a dip in the top for the pantograph, some panel lines. Then we have the car number, and this blue stripe, which if you look closely, it's actually a bunch of triangles. Also this random white circle here. Then at the bottom we have the rear truck, and then on the very edge we have this gray skirt, which helps cover the gangway. Also at the bottom, this red part actually makes an indent going upwards. It's also kind of weird, there's another triangle indent here. And then for the rear, we've got this gangway door, and above there is a gap here for the pantograph with this cover at the top. And then for the door, it does come with door handle, grab irons on sides, which this time they are just molded in. And then on the bottom, there is a silver platform with buffers on the sides, which I didn't really expect, but it's just for show, they don't go in at all. And there's also this coupler box here, which you can move a bit, and the red part also has an indent. Now let's go check out the other side. Now this side's a bit different because it has these vents at the top. And then for the rest, there is no vent here, but everything else, it's pretty much the same. One thing a bit off is on the Acela. It's missing a bit of the A, and that is pretty much it. Alright, so now I'm going to take a look at the top section. There's a look at the front, very smooth and streamlined. Then we have these 2 circle vents, lots of rivet detail, and there is a pair of antennas. Then we have another pair of these bumps, and there's a vent up here, and the section's painted gray. And then after that we have a Sinclair radio antenna. And then here is a chasm for the pantograph, which you can see the horns stick out on the side. I also found it interesting that they made this part separate pieces, so there's a gap between. Also we have this part that sticks out, and then these 2 notches on the other side. Alright, so here's how it looks like with the pantograph raised. This is how they would draw power from the overhead lines. and it is spring loaded. And this is when I figured out that this pantograph is actually a bit diagonal, like it is a bit loose, so it kind of goes off to one side. So I did check with my other end car, and that one seemed to be fine. So it is unfortunate that this one came with a crooked pantograph. But anyways, besides that, inside you can see the detail, which is made of all metal, so it got the insulators, and the spring kind of wraps around the bottom, and this is what drives the suspension. Now there also is a hidden compartment over here, which can be opened with this slot hole, and I found you can just use your finger. And then this cover comes right off, and inside is a PCB board with a switch to activate the pantograph. So if you pull the switch, the pantograph can draw power from overhead lines and run on that instead of track power. And in the manual it says the other car can do it as well, just their switch is the opposite direction. But I'm not going to use it, so I'm going to switch it back. So now we're going to take a look at the bottom. So in the front there is a shiny metallic plate with lots of these divots. Although it really looks like metal, I think it's just paint applied, but it is pretty convincing, and no, these are not real holes, they're just divots. And this chunky part in the back of it. And then here's a look at the truck, which is pretty boxy inside. Here you can swivel it. Then further down long, we got these red panels on the sides, pretty symmetrical. And then we got this random square hole and some kind of ID number. In the middle, got the Bachmann logo, and this product is made in China. And then we have some holes here, which I think is for a speaker. And then here's the rear truck. And then in the back, we got that coupler box again. Can't see it's on a gull-wing track. Alright, so next up we have the first class car. So starting here in the front, on the end we got that door and all those details. And above there's sort of like this roof ledge, which there is a hole at the top. Then at the bottom we have this gray platform, the buffers like the other car, and this time it has this connector, which acts as the drawbar between the cars. See that part at the top? It does move along with the coupler. It's also interesting that this car is shaped like an egg. Alright, now for the side, we got that Amtrak logo, car number, the white stripe with a red line at the bottom, and then we got these windows which are actually crystal clear. There is no window tint, and they're pretty big, so you can see the inside really easily. This row has some tables. You can see the rest of the seating, while one side has single seats and the other is double. It's also interesting to note that some of these windows have these emergency exit, markers on the window, and this label below it. Alright, so next up we got the bogie, which is kind of a simple design. There is a lot of empty space above it, with these two dips at the top. Then after that we have this red part that slants down, with some vents along the bottom. Then on the other side, we've got this label that says first class. Got the cool gradient again with the triangles, but this time some of them are red. There's also a bit of detail down here. Then we have a red door at the end, which above the window there is a panel, which in real life is actually an LED board. There's also a rain gutter at the top, and the door itself, they have a green button. So this is wheelchair accessible, and it can be opened for emergency access. And then in the rear we have a Jacob's bogie, which will be shared with another car. Then here is a look at the gangway, which there is a corridor in the middle, the double doors, and some rivets molded in. And this accordion kind of just floats here in the middle, and on top there's a gap in the roof. Now this bogie is articulated. There's also this electrical connection, so it can run power between cars. See that wire running along the bottom? Then here's the other side, it's pretty much the same, just if you look inside there's double seats. Alright, so now for the roof. On the edge we've got this indent here. Then we have this square, I guess for emergency exit hatch. Although underneath it is a vent. Then there's a bunch of these rivets, some rows of vents on the sides. And this silver fan in the middle looks pretty nice. Then after that we got a bunch of these cellular antennas, which they do stick out. There's also some empty slots for additional ones, and got that square again. And on the edge there's another hole. Then we got the bogie, which I found interesting that this swivels, and the connector can swivel on its own. Alright, so now for the bottom. Here is the bogie's range of motion. Then here's a look at the middle and the other side. Looks like on this end there's like this rubber gasket, which ties down the connector. Also, the wheels have these black axle coverings. Alright, so next up we have the cafe car. This is where you're gonna get your food. It also doesn't have any bogies, so you'll attach it to the other cars. So for the front of this car, we've got the double door gangway, although it's kind of deep compared to the one on the other car. That's about it. And then on the side, it says cafe car. Then across the side, we've got these 6 windows, a doorway, and another window. So if you look inside, you can see there's like this table thing. And in the back, we've got that counter where you can order food, and there's a wall behind it. And there's some more tables here in the back section. Now, unfortunately, on this end, the text got a little scratched, so it's missing the C and the A. I also found it a bit weird, there's some dimples here at the bottom. Then here's the other end, it's the same. And then this side, there is way less windows. There's 2 windows on this end, we can see the standing desks, and 1 window on the other side. Alright, so now let's go check out the roof. It is pretty similar to the other car. I would just say this one has some more antennas, including one Sinclair antenna on the end. Okay, let's flip this around. So here are the holes to attach to the bogie, which is the same per side. Alright, so car 4 is going to be the business class car, which this one's also a quiet car. So it's basically the same as first class. The ends are exactly the same, just it has a gray door instead of red. There's no difference in the seating. And then if you look at the roof section, the communications antennas is slightly different. This one has a bit more nodules. The bottoms are the same. And finally, we had the dummy car. So this one is a lot lighter without the motor. Here are them side by side. The only difference is the car number. And then in the back, I realized the platform for this is straight, but the one on the motor car, it's a bit sagging. And here's the other side. So now that we have everything, let's assemble this train. So to connect it together, you're going to take this piece and just slide it in the slot of the other car. So now that it's connected, you also need to have this rubber piece, which is flexible, and this helps keep it in place. And that's how you connect it. Alright, so here is the whole train set assembled. Now it's not the longest train, but it does take up a lot of space in HO scale. I also found it interesting that you could take off the bogie off both cars, so this is what you're left with. And now for the Bachmann Easy Track. So it's meant to be a starter set, so it comes with the straight track, feeder track, some curves for a loop, and a Bachmann speed controller. Seems like they updated the design from the old Acela, and this controls how fast the train goes, as well as the direction. And on top we have some outlets to power it, so the red wire connects it from the controller to the feeder track. And then you want to get the power from the power supply, which just connects up in here. And then here's the back. And now for the actual Bachmann Easy Track, comes with these concrete ties, which looks a lot cleaner than the old wooden ties on the old Acela. And then here's how it looks like underneath. It looks like it's 9 inches long. And they just snap together just like that. It's pretty easy. And twist to take it off. And now for our feeder track. It also has this re-railer level crossing. Although it does just fall off at the edge, there's no real slope here. They also have this cool grid pattern on it, and some ballast on the edge. Then there's these forks to connect with the power. And now for the curved track, it looks like they're using 22-inch radius curves. I also found out the diaphragm is a bit off center, so when I try to push this in, it doesn't go in all the way. So that's because the diaphragm is blocking it on the top. So apparently when I put it back in, I put it in backwards. So now we try it the other way. Now you can see it's closer to this side. And now it fits, so the orientation does matter. Now here is a close-up view of the interior with lighting, which is pretty nice and warm. And then here's a look at the cafe car with the counter inside. And the lights also shine through the doors at the end. So for this max speed test, I measured 2 floor planks, which is 19 centimeters long, and checked how long it took to cross it. So it took 0.167 seconds, which is 1.14 meters a second, or 4.1 kilometers an hour, or 2.55 miles per hour. Converted to real scale terms, it went 357 kilometers an hour, or around 222 miles per hour, which is actually pretty close to the real one's max design speed at 220 miles per hour, just a 2 miles per hour difference, although actual service would be 160 miles per hour. Now compared to the original Bachmann Acela, it practically went double the speed, although to be fair, maybe it's because it was DCC on DC track. It also went faster than the Mahano TGV, but still the Pico ICE3 is the fastest in HO scale. So for my final thoughts, the Bachmann Amtrak Acela II. I've been waiting for this ever since I got the original Bachmann Acela Express. It's a pretty cool train set. I love the paint scheme and looks like the real thing. It's molded in rivets, vents, time text, roof markings, details between the cars, and it runs smooth with working headlights, taillights, and interior lighting. I was surprised on just how clear these windows are since the previous one was almost pitch black. This one you can easily see through inside. And it's also a starter set, so if you're new to the hobby, they can get the train, the controller, the tracks set up right out of the box, and the loop is fairly large, and compared to last time they're using these concrete tie easy track instead of wooden, so it does look better. Now for the cons, there was some paint issues right out of the box. It's missing a bit of the A on the Acela logo, the text on the cafe car, and a little bit of paint splatter. Also the power car had a sagging walkway step, and the pantograph is crooked leaning off to one side. I did email Bachmann about this, but they said because it's new there's no extra parts at the moment. I did try to fix it myself, but it doesn't really want to stay straight and I don't want to break it. I also had an issue where the standing line on one side was sagging and would click on the switch track, but I did fix it just bending it upwards. Another thing is that there is a lot of empty space above the truck on the coaches. Also because it's a starter set, the box is really huge and takes up a lot of space, and I don't really have any use for the Bachmann Easy Track. I really wish that you can just buy the train by itself, and that would cut down on the cost, which is another con. It does cost quite a bit. I did get this off nicholasmithtrains.com, which they did say they are the oldest train store in America from 1909. Honestly, I never heard of them before, but they did have the Acela II on sale for $530, which is quite a lot, but you are getting like 5 cars and inflation and tariffs and all that, but it's actually $100 less than pretty much every other online model train store for some reason. But overall, I think the Bachmann Amtrak NextGen Acela, it's a great train to have. I would recommend this if you're into Amtrak or you live on the Northeast Corridor, because these trains will probably be here for many years to come. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, hit the like button. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. So for this video, to get footage of the Avelia Liberty, I went to Princeton Junction, New Jersey, because within New York City, the Acela doesn't go that fast. But on the day I went there, I wasn't able to catch any Avelia Liberties, just the old Acelas, and then I figured out there is a website that shows a live map and the schedules of Amtrak trains, and they call the Avelia Liberties NextGen Acelas, which only run 4 to 2 trains a day, and then you kind of estimate on the live map of when it's arriving, and that's how I caught 2 of them. I thought they would be a lot more common, but I guess they're still pretty rare. Also, I had no idea that there's like this other rail line on the side of the station called the Dinky, and they operate these old New Jersey Transit Arrow 3 EMUs, which just goes to Princeton University.